Hey everyone, Coach Powers here, and I want to talk about the 9 most common benzo gaslighting. Number 1, it's not the meds, it's your pre-existing condition. How many times have we all heard that? I mean, I think every single person here, right? It's got to be the most common one of all time. It's not the meds, it's your pre-existing condition. And of course, when I was going through this, I remember talking to the doctor and I said, well, I haven't slept in 2 or 3 days and I'm having 4 or 5 panic attacks a day and my flesh is burning and brain fog and mental pain. And, I'm just going down the laundry list of things. And he said, yep, that's your pre-existing. To which I say, hey, doc, lean in a little closer. Let me tell you something. I didn't have all of that before. So it's not a pre-existing condition. It's a new existing condition, one that was brought on by the meds. And we went back and round and round. And he said, he keeps resisting me. And finally, I said to him, I have metallic taste, damn it. And that one got him because that's a key benzo withdrawal symptom, metallic taste. And I think he had a hard time, attributing that to anything else. And at that point, I got his attention. Did it change anything? No. I think it might have if he had come up with the idea, right? Anyway, moving forward. Number 2, you have a chemical imbalance and therefore you need meds for life. This is like one of the most damaging ones because this one becomes a belief. It becomes part of your schema, how you see the mechanics, the physiology, the science of all this. And once, that belief has its roots and its hooks in you, it's really hard to change your mind and see it as anything else. So then everything gets framed under this platform. You have a chemical imbalance and need meds for life. Oh my God. But benzos aren't working. Oh my God. I can't take SSRIs. Oh my God. What do? I'm hopeless. I'm helpless. Of course now, and this has been coming down, believe me, this has been coming down the pipeline, guys, for at least 20 years. They've pretty much empirically shown that the chemical imbalance model is a bunch of baloney for the most part. Now, it's true that if you take, say, serotonin for a depression, serotonin can, in at least 1/3 of a demographic taking it, can have alleviation of depression for at least some portion of time, and some portion of alleviation. Not like, not 33% are going to come out and go, I feel amazing. But they might say, yeah, I think it's all off to help a little bit, But that would be like, guys, like if you had a headache and I give you an aspirin and it alleviates your aspirin, we wouldn't say, wow, I must have had an aspirin imbalance. My brain must not make enough aspirin chemical, and therefore that's, right? It seems simple when you look at it that way. So just because something alleviates something doesn't mean that you have a quote-unquote imbalance. And what they found in a number of studies is, a major studies, what they call meta-analysis, which you're looking at thousands of studies, thousands of participants. And they did these tests. And what they found were people that were depressed seemed to have normal levels of serotonin. Right? So now this really turned the whole model inside out. But still try to convince your doctors of this. Most of them are behind, the curve on this one. And others will just flat out want to deny it. I mean, they'll cling vehemently to their outdated ideas because when you're a hammer, everything has to be a nail. Number 3, you're not being compliant. I was told this one. You're not being compliant. My Valium stopped working. I dropped 20 milligrams of the dose. I was in, the depths of hell. And I went back to my doctor and he says, you're not being compliant. Why did you do that? Finally, he says, well, maybe it did stop working. Well, here's Xanax and here's, Zoloft or Seroquel. I don't remember now what he gave me. He gave me 2 or 3 meds, prescriptions anyway. And I went home. I tried the Xanax, had a paradoxical reaction, ended up in the emergency room by ambulance. Fast forward another week, came back to him, said, hey, explained everything that's going on. He says, you're not being compliant, Dave. I told you to take the Xanax and the Zoloft. So I don't want the Zoloft. I don't want more meds. I want less meds. right? So then, of course, what is the implication of not being compliant? You're worried about this guy ripping you off your meds, terminating you, all of this. And really, you are being compliant. Again, this is the gaslighting of it. I'm not, just because I had a reaction to something, or I choose that I don't want to take another drug that could make me worse, or put 40 pounds of weight on me, or clog my arteries, or potentially making me suicidal, that doesn't mean I'm not compliant, right? Just because I don't want to do it your way doesn't make me non-compliant. It's gaslighting. Number 4, you're the first person I've seen having this reaction to benzo withdrawal. Again, raise your hands if you heard of that one before. It's gaslighting at its finest, because I'm sorry, I don't believe there's a psychiatrist out there, or a prescribing doctor for that matter, who has given benzos and has never seen this. It is recognized by the American Medical Association as being one of the most addictive drugs, with one of the most severe and potentially protracted, the most long-term withdrawal effects, even after you come off the drug. It's well documented. So I refuse to play their game and say, I just say, I'm sorry. I find that you're being disingenuous. I don't believe you. I don't believe you when you say I'm the first person having this reaction to benzo. I don't believe you. I know for a fact, in the heart of hearts, you've seen this before. Now, maybe you added gabapentin, maybe you threw other meds, maybe other people, I'm sure many, many other people, you were able to rip them off benzos pretty quickly and they bounced back. But you saw something. Let's be honest. Let's not gaslight us. What is the saying? Don't pee on my head and tell me it's raining. Number 5, you need other meds. Why? Because I have an imbalance? Well, we just proven that. So what do I need other meds for? So you can sort of tranquilize or dope up or alter the other chemicals so that we can kind of round the corners on this one. And listen, guys, I'm not saying that if you're depressed, I'm not anti-psychiatry, by the way. I think that it needs an enema. I think it needs an overhaul for sure. But there are some people that are listening to say, well, Dave, actually, I was depressed and I did get on Zoloft and it helped me. And look, I hear you. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're talking about gaslighting, saying that because you're going through benzo withdrawal first off, this is a combination of gaslighting factors here. First off, they don't believe that your symptoms are related to the benzo. Therefore, you need other meds, which is like, maybe some other meds can help. That's true. But again, to gaslight us and say these symptoms are not coming from the original drug is just wrong. It's just cruel. And it's bad medicine. It's just bad medicine. So we don't need other meds. Other meds may be very helpful, but certainly no other meds are going to, just eliminate benzo withdrawal. It doesn't exist. Even if a high dose of gabapentin, which affects GABA, isn't, which is almost like, gabapentin in a high dose in some ways is like a very weak form of what Suboxone is for, or methadone is for, heroin addicts or opiate addicts. It's very similar to the molecule and affects the receptors very similarly and can reduce some of the symptoms. But really, you're not really off the drug. You're just trading one thing for the other. Can be helpful. Again, not telling you not to do any of this stuff. Not about that. If you need the other meds, if they are helpful, great. My point is, number 5, you need the meds. You need the other meds. That's gaslighting because you don't, quote unquote, need the other meds. Number 6, have you considered staying on the meds? That's one I think every one of us wants to just, it makes your eyes start to twitch, your eyelid starts to twitch, and and your hands start to feel the energy in your hands as you want to wrap them around your doctor's neck. Have I ever considered staying on the meds? That's almost as condescending as saying to someone that's, ruminating and deeply worried about something, have you just thought about stop worrying? Well, gee, I never thought of that. Just stop worrying. Or to someone who's depressed, have you thought of just being happy? Oh, I'm cured. By golly, you cured me. I'm going to think happy, and I'm going to cure my depression. You figured it out. And, this med that's turned on me and has made my life hell, I'll just stay on it. Again, it's gaslighting because where does this go? If you're someone like me who was on 40, really above 40 milligrams of Valium in the end, the doctors weren't going to keep writing anymore. So stay on what med? Stay on the med that isn't working, that I have this growing tolerance withdrawal effect happening? What's the point of staying on it if I'm still having panic attacks and not sleeping and constantly anxious? And now I'm having all these other little side effects and paradoxical reactions to the med. It's gaslighting at its finest, and it's one of the most infuriating ones because it's very condescending. Have I considered staying on the meds? You want to say, have you considered shutting up and leaving me alone? And you hear this from family too, and God bless them. They don't know any better. They're just giving you the throwaway, go-to, obvious answer. Some of us, we could stay on the meds. To be fair, everybody's story is different. And some of us, we just can't. It's just not in the cards. Or maybe some of us can go back on the meds later once we come off and receptors heal. And, there is a wiggle room here where maybe you find a new benzo that works better. And, we can't be dogmatic about the topic. But in general, number 6, have you considered staying on the meds? Pretty high in the gaslighting scale there. Number 7. This is going back kind of to like number 6. Stop worrying so much. I mean, that's like about as effective as telling a person in a fit of rage to stop being angry. Calm down. There's something about telling somebody to calm down when they're angry that just makes them more angry. And there's just something about telling someone to stop worrying so much that just seems to make us worry more. It makes us more anxious and kind of pisses us off a little bit. Stop worrying so much. It's gaslighting. I'm worrying because there's something to be worried about. That's why I worry. I'm not worrying if it'll rain tomorrow. I'm worried about surviving. I'm worried about my career. I'm worried about my family. I'm worried about my health. I'm worried about the doctor. I'm worried about 1,000 things, which then become an addiction. This worrying manifests into obsessive rumination disorder. And at that point, we're like an addict. We're just glued to the monitor, reading horror stories, reading, Benzo buddies and WebMD and searching for answers. And if you guys watch my videos on rumination, you know how far out this can get, that eventually it's not even about the answers anymore, right? It's like the alcoholic that started to drink to take the edge off. Now he just drinks because he needs to drink. That's what obsessive rumination is. It's not about solving the problem. You've already solved the problem. You know all the answers. Why are we still researching? Well, because it's something about it. It's a little bit self-soothing. There's so much depth here to this question, or this number 7. Stop worrying so much. Why do we worry? It's an oversimplification, a generalization, and it's gaslighting. Number 8, you need to be stronger. I heard one of our coaches, Benzo coaches, would tell their clients, you need to pull yourself up by your big girl panties. Get to work. You need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Right? Talk about gaslighting. It always annoys me, like when you hear somebody who's a multimillionaire, who was born with money, telling somebody who's poor, you just need to work. You need to work harder. You need to be better at saving. It's like, really? You obviously have no idea what it means to live paycheck to paycheck. I mean, and even some of the people I've known that said they did, you look at their bank accounts, they're not really living paycheck to paycheck. They got thousands of dollars in the bank. It's a very different thing when you're literally not knowing how you're going to feed yourself or your family or pay your rent or be homeless or get your meds. When you don't have real money, when you're really living paycheck to paycheck, you need to be stronger. What does that even mean? How? I mean, how obvious that is? If I could be stronger, wouldn't I already be stronger? You don't think we haven't thought of that already? And it's gaslighting at its finest too, because the reality is, if benzo people are some of the strongest people on the damn planet. They really are. I mean, they're the strongest people on the planet. When you look at like drug addicts who, they lie and steal and manipulate and do anything to get that drug, even if it's alcohol. God, I gotta have that beer. They run to the bar, and the pill addict that pops pain pills, robbing his grandmother, robbing people on the street, breaking and entering, just losing their minds. And then you look at benzo people. Hey, we're addicted and dependent too. Only we're suffering so much more that when you look at benzo people, it is a damn wonder how we don't see news every day about someone in benzo withdrawal who, did some extreme thing, desperate, broke into a pharmacy to get their meds or something, right? I mean, and you would understand it. You would say, God, I get it. I get why they did that. I mean, the fact that we don't strangle our doctors, the fact that we are able to somehow, sometimes, some of us push through work and do the things we do on no sleep, and the suffering and the feeling crazy and all these just plethora of bizarre symptoms. It's unbelievable. I mean, every one of you deserve a trophy and a statue because you're that strong, But no one sees it. In fact, they seem to see weakness, because that's unfortunately what us humans do when we don't understand something. But to tell someone you need to be stronger, especially a benzo person in benzo withdrawal and recovery, talk about a slap in the face. You need to be stronger. Number 9, and this one might be the one that makes me the most frustrated. It's all in your head. It's all in your head. And I say, what does that even mean? What the hell does that even mean? Are you saying we're making it up? I mean, why would anybody do that? Why would anybody choose to make it up? Talk about an oversimplification of a problem. I mean, I think that's what it comes down to with a lot of this stuff. Is just people don't know how to approach it, how to empathize or relate. They have no real advice. So they just sort of reduce things down to a base element and think that they're being helpful. It's all in your head. What does that mean? I'm making it up. I tell people, you know what? It is all in your head, because that's where your brain is. That's where chemicals happen. That's where consciousness is. It is in our head. It's in our brain. It's in our chemicals. It's in receptors that are damaged or healing. It's a lot of neurological factors in our head. But if you're saying I'm making it up, shame on you. How dare you? And not just how dare you, how dumb are you? I mean, how dumb are you? I imagine someone getting shot in the leg and then someone going, it's all in your head. What are you talking about? But because you can't see the wound, you can't see the bullet wound or the blood, they get away with it. And it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter, guys, if you showed them an MRI, your prescriptions, articles, whatever. It's a dumb gaslighting answer. That's what it comes down to. I mean, don't even get lost in the fight of reframing it or trying to work within that. You need to be stronger. It's all in your head. It's not the meds. It's your pre-existing condition. It's nonsense. It's a bunch of gaslighting nonsense from someone who doesn't have the answers. And in order to make themselves feel better, they have to say something. They have to. These are the default go-to things. So there you are, 9 of the most common benzo gaslighting statements that I've heard. Now, maybe you guys have some more, and if you do, I'd love to hear them. Post a comment in the comment section. Share your top gaslighting statements with us, and I'll be responding to you. Thank you, guys. Much love. Hey, everyone. I'm Coach Powers, and I'm excited to announce the launch of my new online Benzo Recovery School. The school launched with Module 1 and will have a total of 4 modules, each module with a dozen or more video lessons. Here are some contents in Module 1. This creates the basis for my recovery program. If you know anything about my approach to benzo recovery, you know I'm a bit different than other benzo coaches in that I do not subscribe to the lay and pray model of recovery. Instead, I believe benzo injury is a kind of neurological injury that requires neurological rehabilitation. This neurological rehabilitation encompasses learning how to access our good chemistry while also reducing the so-called bad chemistry, cortisol and adrenaline. and also learning how to lull down our hypervigilant limbic system. This includes learning techniques in CBT, DBT, mindfulness therapy, and neuroplasticity building. Now, I've studied clinical psychology for the last 15 years of my life, and my Benzo recovery program encompasses the same things that I use to make my own recovery after a 10-year, 40 milligram Valium dependence. My recovery program observes 4 stages of recovery with 3 tiers of development. In fact, my stages are all focused on development. This makes them different than the 3 obvious stages of recovery, which include the pre-taper, the taper, and post-taper. Instead, my stages serve as a kind of developmental roadmap, with each stage serving as a bridge to the following stage. These 4 stages include Stage 1, restoring hope, Stage 2, the new beginning, Stage 3, the montage, and Stage 4, coming home. Perhaps most importantly, each stage has 3 key learning goals and also 3 key roadblocks. These stages revealed themselves to me after years of working with literally thousands of people from all around the world. After enough experience, you begin to see patterns and trends, and you see where people triumph and what roadblocks can prevent them from moving forward. Now remember, just because you may have come off your benzo doesn't mean you automatically reach stage 4, the final stage. Again, these are developmental stages, which is why someone can come off of their benzo and still be stuck in their recovery. In fact, it's entirely possible to come off of your benzo and be stuck in stage 1. Here are some other features the online Benzo Recovery School offers. Aside from being a school, it's also a positive focused support group. And believe me when I tell you, my students are a different breed of benzo warriors. They are wise, they are driven, and they understand the mission. I, Coach Powers, will also be doing live video Q&A weekly in the community, talking, teaching, and answering questions from all of you. There will be downloadable resources such as a rumination and exposure therapy log, templates for checklists, and much more. Additionally, there will be new Benzo sleep affirmation videos exclusive for the school, as well as new and early original content. There will be a regular Benzo blog, Benzo-related news, and even a private early screening for my Benzo recovery feature film, Lake of Fire. All of this and only for a special introductory rate of $30 monthly while time lasts. So come join the positive community and let's work together on facilitating our recovery. See you there.